Hey, Wagwan. My name is Danielle, and welcome to A Glimpse into My Life. I can't remember the rest of my intro. Yeah, whatever. So let's start the mid-year freakout tag. If you don't know what it is, because you kind of just watch my channel and you don't watch any book related videos, mid-year freakout tag is basically a tag that rounds up your reading for the first half of the year and your expectations for the next half. I don't know why it's called a freakout tag, we but that's not important. So let's just continue. I don't know why I sound so nervous. I don't know. First question is, how many books have you read so far? This year, I have read 32 books, one being a reread. So I read one of those 32 books twice. And this number does not include all the ones that I've DNF'd so far. So my reading goal for this year was 50 books. My reading goal for last year was 12, and then I ended up reading 100 and something. I wanted to dial it back purposefully this year. So I put it at 50, hoping to actually go at like a 50 pace. So yeah, on to the next question. Best book we've read so far. Okay, so I actually separated these because that's how I am. I separated it in favorite and best. So my favorite has been Don't Go Baking My Heart by N.G. Peltier. I believe that's how the last name is said. It is a Trinidadian book. It's a Caribbean book. I've been meaning to read more of them. To be honest, this was not a part of that charge to read more Caribbean books. I actually read this for a book club, Kenya's Lily Reads book club. That's what I read this for. It and the first book. And I absolutely love it. I genuinely love it. Don't love it to pieces. It's a 6-star book. It's hands down my favorite book that I've read so far. And the best book that I've read, as in I feel like it was the most well written, just very poignant, very meaningful, very important. Also gave it 5 stars because I also enjoyed it a lot. TJ Power Has Something to Prove. Good book. It's just a really good book. I read it very early on in the year. If it wasn't January, then it was February. And I still think about it to this day. Every time I book up on the book, I guess if I'm going through my statistics for my books or my read or whatever, if anytime I see the title, I think back with such respect. Like so much respect comes to the forefront of my mind, my body, when I think about that book. I think it was so well written. I think it had such a good point, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things that I would have never known, regardless, not regardless, without it. So good job there. Next question is best sequel. I think this kind of is a giveaway since I just said that my favorite book of the year is Don't Go Baking My Heart, and Don't Go Baking My Heart is in fact a sequel. And other than that, I don't think I've read any sequels this year. Next question. New release that you want to read. I want to read Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. Kathy Yardley became one of my favorite authors last year because of, oh my gosh, what is it called? Subscribe. Love, comment, and subscribe. That's what it is. Really loved that book. And then I read a Friends to Lovers book by her. Didn't rate it as highly. I think that was because of the reading experience itself, but I thought it was a really nice book and I thought it was written really well. And I think it's the best Friends to Lovers that I've read in traditionally published romance. Because of that, I am very interested in reading a lot of her other books. And this is one of them that came out recently that I haven't gotten to yet. Role Playing. Yeah, that's all. Most anticipated release for the next half of the year. It is My Week with You by Joya Goffney. I have read 2 Joya Goffney books. I believe those are her other 2 books. Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry and What's it called? Oh my gosh, literally one of my favorite books ever. The Confessions of an Alleged Good Girl. That book was written about me. Book was written about me. Anyways, and I'm pretty sure that book came out either today or yesterday, you know. But as I said, was planning to make this book from this video from like last week. So it still stands, and I'm saying it because I'm saying it. I am going to read that book as soon as I can, as very soon as I can get my hands on it. That book is being read. Very excited for it. Excuse me while I ugly cries are 4 stars. The Confessions of an Alleged Good Girls 6-star read. I'm ready. I'm absolutely 100% ready for my week with him. And I don't tend to like short form romances, like the ones that happen over the span of like a week. But both of Joya Goffney's are like that. So she's kind of opened me up to a new world. I'm really excited for my week with him, even though from the title, it sounds like it's only going to be a week. I barely know what it's about. Do I care? Next question. My biggest disappointment so far. I have two. First being Fat Chance, Charlie Vega. This is one of my DNFs, so it does not count in the 32 books I've read, but I did read enough of it to be very disappointed. It's not a badly written book. Before, let me get that off my chest. A lot of books that I DNF is not because they're badly written. Some of them definitely are, at least in my opinion. But Fat Chance Charlie Vega is not badly written. The character is written well, so well that you can't help but want to reach through the book and slap her. I barely find, especially female protagonists that are even overly whiny, overly stressed, overly anxious. I barely find them annoying because I get that it's the book. I get that that's just how the character is being written. And even if I do find them annoying, I'm able to bear it because I know it's a part of the story. And lastly, I know that I was probably like that when I was their age. I was very insecure, and I am just now passing that stage, or not pass. It's not a stage. I'm learning to not be like that. I'm learning to grow. So I could have very much well been very similar to this person. So I try to extend a lot of grace when reading the book. This girl was incredibly, every single somebody she's jealous of. Everybody she's jealous of. Like, girl, calm down. And especially the whole jealous of best friend thing. I can't take it. I cannot take it. It is a personal problem. I completely get that. It is my own trauma. But I'm so jealous of my best friend and their accomplishments, their life. Cannot take it, and I will not stand for it. But other than that, there's other parts of the book that I just wasn't feeling. Like it's supposed to be a romance, wasn't feeling the romance. It just felt like he was a boy, she was a girl. They were supposed to like each other, so they liked each other. I didn't really feel anything between them. There was the first part of the book feels so detached from the second half. In the first quarter of the book, so many things happen because I believe that the author wanted the rest of the book to be able to focus on the main romance. It's so fast in the beginning and then it's so slow in the end, and it's just the same problems being brought up over and over. Somebody else can deal with that, but not me. So I was just very disappointed because I was really, really looking forward to that book. I thought I would enjoy it so bad. The only redeeming part of the book for me was the mother-daughter relationship. It was absolutely terrible, and I wanted to know more about it. I wanted to read to the end just to see what would happen with their relationship, and I couldn't even get there because I decided it wasn't worth it. Especially, I don't know if the relationship was saved at the end, but if it was, oh, I would have definitely been pissed then, because that means I would have wasted my time with this absolutely awful mother-daughter relationship, all for them to act like it's okay in the end. Oh, that would have pissed me off so bad. So I'm hoping, for the sake of other people that's reading it, that the relationship stays horrible, because the mother doesn't deserve any grace. She doesn't deserve forgiveness. If we're being completely honest right now. So yeah. The second biggest disappointment for me was Salam with Love. I don't remember the author, but the picture's gonna be on the screen anyways. was just disappointed in this book because I thought it would be nice. I was wrong. This book is also one of those situations where I felt like he was a boy, she was a girl, that were supposed to like each other, so they did. But I still felt a little bit more of it. Like, I still felt a little bit more like affection and stuff like that. So in that case, it was like, okay. But then I didn't really see any like progression, any growth in that relationship. And then otherwise, the book itself just is disorganized. That's how I would say it. Because the book has things for it, just needs to be more fleshed out, and maybe in different places some things need to be taken out. A lot of things needed to be added in, and it's so short and it just feels so sparse, but so overdone in some places as well. It's a book about a Muslim girl that is rediscovering her faith, or but reconnecting with her faith during the month of Ramadan. Let me just say, one of the biggest problems that led to a lot of different problems for me, there were so many characters, and these characters had no differences, except like five characters would have their one thing, and that would be their whole thing. So one of the characters talked too much. Whenever she was brought up in a scene, it was because she was talking too much, had no depth to her. One of the characters was just a baby, like 5 years old or 4 years old, but yet they spoke with the vocabulary of somebody that was 25. And that it was, if it was like a character trait where they were smart or a really intelligent 5 year old, maybe that would make sense. It would be a nice little funny joke. But no, it's supposed to be a 4 year old. One of the other characters was older than the protagonist. She was mean to her in the beginning. That was her thing, until she was no longer mean to her for some reason. I'm not sure, because it wasn't really fleshed out. So there were so many characters, they all start blending into each other, and a few of them, not all of them, but a few of them had distinguishing trait, and it would be the one trait used to describe them throughout the entire book. Whenever a character would be brought up, you know that something was about to happen to them, something either bad or significant in the next coming chapters, because otherwise you would forget that we're there. Like when they start being brought up constantly, you know that something is about to happen, which I think is so messy when it comes to progression in a book, because now you're just giving it away. Now you're just making me know that something is going to happen, because why this character that I didn't even know existed, mind you, is now being brought up 5 times per chapter. And then the next thing is that it's supposed to be her reconnecting to her faith, becoming deeper and more religious. At the beginning of the book, it's not like she resents Islam. That's not the case. But it's just that she's not as religious as the family that she's going to spend. It's her family, but her relatives that she's going to spend time with for Ramadan, and she's just not as religious as them. In the beginning, she makes like this pact with herself to do all of these things just to seem as religious as them. And no point in the book do we get to see her think about it, self-reflect, like experience different things or talk to different people that help her to get closer, understand different principles more deeply. You just see her go from absolutely feeling like she's being forced to memorize. I don't remember what they're called, but memorize the scriptures of the Quran, and only making goals for herself as a Muslim because she wants to seem as religious, to all of a sudden her being completely devout. Like there is no progression. It just is one time, and then it's the next day she's like, well, I'm changed. And it just didn't make any sense to me. I wanted this nice little book of progression, this nice little book of reconnecting. with her family and her faith, and I didn't get that, and I was confused. My new favorite author, N.G. Peltier and Joya Goffney. New fictional crush. Really struggled with this one. I wondered even if I should answer it, because even though I've liked a lot of the romance books that I read this year, I wouldn't say I've gotten a new fictional crush, to be honest. Like, my fictional crushes last year were like, they still roll over to this year as well, because I reread those books very frequently. Ooh. But I mean, fictional crushes from books I read for the first time last year, like Alejandro from Office Hours, Zafir from Take a Hint, Danny Brown, books like that. I just don't feel like anybody from this year compares. New favorite character, I have two. Celine from Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. Once again, she's just a funny girl. She's a funny girl. Now, Celine has been catching some heat for being unfriendly, for being a little bit mean, for being, a little bit too quirky for the people. But I get her. And she is one of my new favorite characters. Next one is Devon from Don't Go Baking My Heart. I don't think I'll ever stop bringing up that book. He is your typical type A character, which I very much so relate to. And it's a grumpy sunshine situation. So seeing him being put with the sunshine character, it was just very fun to see him reacting that way to her. Like, react as you would expect a grumpy to. But he just has a little bit more to him that I think sets him apart from other grumpy characters that I've read before, which is why he's ended up becoming one of my favorites. I just feel like he has a lot of character. Like, he's grumpy, but he has outside of that, and I like that. I don't know what else to say. I like that. Books that made me cry. I reread Thin Girls this year, so I'm counting it. Thin Girls made me cry. This time around, I'm not so sure, to be honest. If I don't remember if I cried this time while reading it, but I do remember crying the first time. It's a sad book. I don't know what else to say. It's just a sad book. If I didn't cry this year, then Thin Girls is not the answer to this question. But other than that, I don't think I've cried. Books that made me happy. Don't Go Baking My Heart. As I said, won't stop bringing up that book. And also Happily Ever Afters by... Ooh... I know it. Okay, I do know it, but I'm not gonna get to it right now. Happily Ever Afters. One of the first books I read this year. Really loved it. That was the most fun I've had reading a book. Literally just kicking my feet and giggling. I broke my phone while I had started reading that book, and that book took me through that entire ordeal without thinking about this phone that I just broke and had to pay money to fix. Like, if you can't do that for me, then you just don't compare. So yeah, Happily Ever Afters, very fun book to read. Best cover that I've read. Oh, Happily Ever Afters was by Elise Bryant. You see, I had the name here this whole time. But yeah, best covers were those companion books. Those 3 sets of companion books, those were my favorite covers. And also Disinterioration by Elise Chow, I believe is that name. That was also a DNF. I didn't get past maybe the first or second chapter. Sorry. But really nice cover. That's the main reason why I picked up that book. And also Fat Chance by Charlie Vega. Really nice cover as well. Next book, Underrated Gem. All of the books that I read don't get that much like mainstream love, maybe other than Talia Hibbert books, which she really is the anomaly for especially Black authors and persons that write about Black characters that frequently, and especially fat Black characters. Like, Talia Hibbert has become an anomaly for people that I read. I won't speak about people outside of that because I don't really know what's going on out there. But especially for who I read, she is probably the person that gets the most hype, the most ratings and stuff like that, most sales and stuff. I feel like most of what I read is underrated. As I said before, I read mostly black romance. That's not what has the TikTok. That's not what has the TikTok girlies raving. So yeah. Books do I need to read by the end of the year? I don't really have any. I don't really have any that I'm like pressed that I have to read, other than, as I said, the one that I'm going to read as soon as possible, which is My Week with Him by Joy Goffney. Other than that, I'm not really pressed to read anything. If I don't read it this year, I can get to it next year. So yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize that that was the end of it, but that is in fact the end of the tag. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my reading experience so far. I hope you've been enjoying your reading experience, and if not, that you'll have better luck the upcoming months. And I hope that I will as well. I've been enjoying it so far. I've been enjoying the experience along with the reading. But yeah, that's absolutely everything that I have had to say. So bye.